The tranquil oasis of Indian Wells was abruptly torn apart by a global controversy completely unrelated to the sport of tennis. A fierce and unprecedented clash has erupted between the greatest male tennis champion in history, Novak Djokovic, and the absolute sovereign of American media, Oprah Winfrey. The root of this fierce conflict stems from a deeply disturbing incident. Oprah allegedly launched a racially charged verbal assault against the 20-year-old Filipino prodigy Alex during a high-stakes promotional interview for the tournament. The underlying truth reveals that mainstream platforms rushed to erase the interview footage following a massive digital wave of public fury. Despite this desperate media blackout, nothing could prevent Novak Djokovic from uncovering the suppressed footage. Upon witnessing the clip, the Serbian champion did not merely grow angry, but rather transformed into an absolute force of vengeance. Insiders reveal that the Serbian legend delivered a response so devastating that it threw the entire public relations team into utter panic, leaving everyone wondering what truly transpired. The harsh reality involves allegations that Oprah purposefully weaponized coded language to heavily undermine the extraordinary achievements of the young athlete. She strongly insinuated that the rapid ascent of the prodigy had nothing to do with her phenomenal hybrid strike or her relentless work ethic. Instead, the media mogul supposedly attributed the success of the player to a highly favorable political and economic alignment within Southeast Asia. Oprah reportedly remarked on how fascinating it is that specific demographics are suddenly being accelerated within the sport, creating a toxic insinuation that directly targeted the national identity and race of the young star. This functioned as a deeply insidious method of suggesting that the rising star simply did not belong at the same elite table as her Western counterparts. The Women Tennis Association establishment is reportedly furious because their frantic attempts to quietly bury this scandal have completely failed. However, a massive legion of devoted fans and one exceptionally powerful Serbian champion were paying close attention, and the shockwaves from this offensive slur completely shattered the tranquility right before the highly anticipated debut on March 6th. This perfectly set the stage for Novak Djokovic, a resilient man who has spent his entire career fiercely navigating the sport as the ultimate outsider. He has spent years battling the biased narratives of Western media, so when reporters questioned him about the controversial comments today, the entire press room fell absolutely silent. Djokovic refused to hold anything back, allegedly staring straight into the camera lenses to deliver a powerful 10-word command that instantly ignited a global viral firestorm. He sternly told Oprah to be ashamed of herself and warned her never to touch the children of the game, but his fierce defense did not end with that single warning. The brutal truth is that Novak heavily condemned the media icon for actively using her massive platform to sow division rather than to inspire the younger generation. He informed the completely stunned press corps that what Alex Eala is achieving on the court is nothing short of an absolute miracle for her home country. He boldly declared that those unable to celebrate her brilliant light must never attempt to cast their dark shadows over her, cementing his defense as arguably the most profound statement on racial equality in the history of tennis. The sheer level of panic currently radiating from the Oprah Winfrey camp has reached an absolutely unprecedented and chaotic high. Her representatives are reportedly scrambling to backtrack by claiming the remarks were taken completely out of context. Yet the harsh reality has already been broadcast to billions of viewers. This relentless explosion of viral information has effectively transformed the peaceful grounds of Indian Wells into an active media war zone. The top-ranking players remain heavily divided, with some feeling utterly terrified to challenge the media queen, while others quietly flood Novak with private messages of deep support. This marks the historic intersection of the Eala revolution and the impenetrable Djokovic shield, leaving the traditional hierarchy of American media furious over their sudden inability to control the prevailing narrative. The Serbian powerhouse has officially spoken his mind, and the entire globe is now watching with bated breath to see which side will ultimately blink first. We are preparing to dive deep into reports of a secret recording where a producer captured even more ruthless comments from the host, alongside a heartbreaking video showcasing the devastated reaction of the parents of the young star. The brutal siege has officially migrated away from the clay courts and directly into the merciless lens of the global cameras. The fierce war of words has now been officially ignited on the global stage. The massive geopolitical earthquake, sparked by the staunch defense of the young athlete by Novak Djokovic, has entered its most dangerous chapter yet, even as mainstream outlets desperately attempt to muffle the unfolding story. A catastrophic leak has reportedly surfaced straight from the very recording studio where Oprah Winfrey conducted that highly controversial interview. We are dealing with highly sensitive pre-recording audio captured by a brave whistleblower technician who was absolutely livid at the conversation he overheard. In this explosive leaked audio, Oprah is reportedly caught laughing alongside her executive producers in a chilling display of arrogance. She mockingly labeled Alex Eala as nothing more than a market-driven experiment, openly questioning whether a young girl from the Philippines possessed the necessary mental pedigree to truly rival the elite Western bloodlines of professional tennis. This incredibly ruthless and inherently racist insinuation has completely incinerated the once stellar reputation of the media mogul across the global tennis community. This disastrous moment was certainly not a mere slip of the tongue or a simple misunderstanding. It was a coldly calculated expression of deep-seated bias that has now been fully exposed for the entire world to witness. However, the truly heartbreaking reality of this ruthless media warfare hit incredibly close to home when the broadcast cameras focused on the family box of the young prodigy during her morning practice session. Widespread reports indicate that Mike and Risa, the devoted parents of Alex, were visibly overwhelmed with profound emotional distress. A highly emotional leaked video allegedly depicts the mother of the young star desperately wiping away tears as she reads the cruel transcripts of the brutal comments made by the host. For a deeply committed family that has sacrificed absolutely everything by traveling across continents and pouring their entire lives into perfecting the phenomenal hybrid strike of their daughter, this was devastating. Being told that their beloved child is merely the product of demographic acceleration serves as an absolutely unforgivable and brutal insult. The immense emotional toll reached such critical heights that the coaching staff reportedly had to completely isolate the young star from the news cycle for 3 full hours, simply to prevent a devastating mental collapse ahead of her highly anticipated debut on March 6th. The massive army of dedicated supporters in the Philippines is now gripped by sheer panic and profound concern. They genuinely fear that the sharp focus of their tennis queen has been intentionally sabotaged by a colossal American media giant, but Novak Djokovic was far from finished with his unrelenting defense. Following his explosive initial statement condemning the host, the Serbian legend reportedly initiated a catastrophic maneuver never before witnessed in the entire history of the professional tennis tours. He allegedly orchestrated a complete and unprecedented lockdown of the player locker rooms at the Indian Wells facility. Inside sources leaked that the champion systematically went from room to room, engaging directly with top-tier stars like Carlos Alcaraz, Aryna Sabalenka, and Coco Gauff. He fiercely urged his fellow competitors to completely boycott any and all interviews with the affiliated network until a comprehensive and sincere public apology is formally issued to Alex and the entire Filipino nation. Novak passionately reportedly told them that if a powerful network can inflict this kind of damage on a 20-year-old girl from Manila, they are fully capable of doing it to absolutely any of them, declaring that today they all stand as Filipinos. This brilliant display of strategic unity has plunged the traditional tennis establishment into an absolute state of pure and unadulterated terror. The executives are absolutely fuming because their highly lucrative multi-million-dollar broadcast contracts are now in severe jeopardy simply because one courageous man decided to fiercely stand up for the young prodigy. The sheer panic echoing through the corporate headquarters of the media empire is now reaching seismic proportions, as they have reportedly dispatched emergency legal threats to anyone daring to share the explosive leaked audio. Nevertheless, the unstoppable tsunami of public information continues to rage on, fueled by the staggering and pure digital power of the outraged masses. Millions of furious fans have reportedly ignited a massive cancellation movement that successfully tanked the social media engagement metrics of the host by 40% in a mere 12 hours. The harsh and undeniable reality is that the media queen tragically underestimated the profound loyalty of the global tennis community and the sheer ferocity of Novak Djokovic. The fearless Serbian icon is now being widely heralded as the undisputed godfather of the Eala revolution, and his powerful protective shield remains the only barrier standing between the young star and an absolute media execution. This catastrophic media war between Novak Djokovic and Oprah Winfrey has officially escalated from a bitter verbal clash into a full-scale legal siege on this tense Friday, March 6, 2026. As the scorching desert sun reached its absolute zenith over the sprawling grounds of Indian Wells, a completely different kind of heat began to radiate. A massive and completely unprecedented legal bombshell was suddenly leaked simultaneously from high-powered law firms operating in both Manila and Los Angeles. A formidable alliance comprised of billionaire Filipino tycoons and prominent human rights organizations has reportedly slammed the massive media empire of Oprah Winfrey with a staggering $500 million class action defamation lawsuit. The deeply profound and hidden truth behind this aggressive legal maneuver is that these powerful figures are absolutely not chasing monetary compensation, but are instead launching a fierce crusade to reclaim basic human dignity. They are boiling with absolute fury because they recognize that the deeply offensive racial slur dropped by the American host was not merely a targeted attack on Alex Eala, but rather a profoundly savage and unforgivable insult directed at the psychological and cultural integrity of an entire sovereign nation. The elite executives running the Women's Tennis Association are currently operating in a state of sheer, unadulterated panic because they have suddenly realized the catastrophic implications if the media titan actually loses this monumental legal battle. They are incredibly terrified that their highly lucrative global broadcast partners might instantly rip up their massive contracts and completely walk away from the sport, simply to avoid being publicly associated with such blatant systemic racial bias. Yet, even as the high-priced corporate attorneys were busy sharpening their absolute sharpest legal swords in preparation for an all-out war in the courtroom, something else was unfolding. A profoundly heartbreaking and undeniably powerful moment of pure solidarity was quietly taking place far away from the cameras, hidden deep behind the tightly closed doors of the exclusive player lounge. Rafael Nadal, the legendary Spanish icon who has essentially acted as a fiercely protective guardian for Alex since she was a mere child, reportedly dispatched a highly classified and deeply emotional message directly to Novak Djokovic following that secretive 400 million phone call leaked by desperate insiders. According to extremely reliable sources, the undisputed King of Clay passionately expressed his profound gratitude to the fiercely loyal Serbian champion, reportedly telling him thank you for standing as the impenetrable shield that he was entirely unable to be today, and affirming that together they will fiercely protect the future of the sport. This completely unprecedented and monumental alliance between Nadal and Djokovic represents an absolute nuclear disaster of epic proportions for the media queen, because for the first time in the entire history of the sport, the two most dominant legends to ever swing a racket have seamlessly joined forces to protect a single young tennis prodigy from the crushing weight of a Western media giant. The incredibly savage and deeply ironic reality of this entire chaotic situation has become impossible for anyone to ignore. The ruthless attempt by the powerful host to completely divide the tennis world and alienate a rising star has spectacularly backfired, instead managing to perfectly unite the greatest and most fiercely competitive champions in history directly against her media empire. Meanwhile, the intensely physical and incredibly vocal siege currently unfolding right outside the massive concrete walls of Stadium 1 is rapidly escalating toward a highly dangerous and completely unprecedented boiling point. That staggeringly loyal 2 million-strong army of passionate Filipino supporters, whose sheer numbers and intense dedication were already causing absolute panic among the overwhelmed local authorities, have reportedly orchestrated a highly coordinated and completely silent blackout protest. Thousands upon thousands of fiercely dedicated fans have reportedly flooded the tournament entrance gates, prominently wearing dark black armbands, boldly displaying the name of Alex, creating an incredibly intimidating sea of silent defiance. They are absolutely and completely refusing to purchase even a single piece of official merchandise or buy any food and beverages from the numerous corporate vendors who maintain any financial association whatsoever with the corporate sponsors linked to the media empire of Oprah. This incredibly brilliant and highly targeted campaign of pure economic sabotage is absolutely incinerating the vital daily revenue streams of the prestigious tournament in real time. The elite private security detail currently patrolling the grounds of Indian Wells is reportedly absolutely terrified that if this massive racist scandal is not immediately resolved with a profoundly sincere and highly public official apology before the very first ball of the match is even served, utter chaos will ensue. They harbor a deeply genuine and incredibly terrifying fear that the massive crowd of furious fans might literally breach the barriers and perform a colossal mass sit-in directly on the pristine hard court itself, meaning the actual sovereignty and continuation of the entire tournament is currently hanging by the thinnest imaginable thread. However, the single most shocking and absolutely explosive development in this entire saga centers entirely around the incredibly damaging hidden evidence that Novak Djokovic is reportedly preparing to ruthlessly unleash upon the world. Deeply embedded insiders are currently heavily suggesting that the fierce Serbian champion has somehow gained exclusive access to a second, even more devastatingly toxic leaked audio recording. This supposedly explosive secondary tape reportedly captures Oprah ruthlessly mocking the slightly accented English of Alex, while simultaneously laughing at her intense training regimen at the prestigious Rafael Nadal Academy. And this absolute nuclear-grade evidence is currently being wielded as the ultimate tactical shield by Novak. He is reportedly sitting back with absolute cold calculation, patiently waiting for the media titan to make her very next public move before he completely dismantles her entire legendary broadcasting career and global reputation with a single, devastatingly well-timed post on social media. What originally began as a highly intense locker room war of words has rapidly mutated into a full-blown, absolutely merciless digital execution playing out live on the global stage. Oprah Winfrey is now reportedly practically begging for an emergency. Behind closed doors meeting with the executive board of the Women's Tennis Association in a desperately frantic bid to find any possible exit strategy out of this entirely self-inflicted public relations nightmare. As the absolute nuclear media war at Indian Wells reached its absolute climax on this highly tense Friday, March 6, 2026, the moment Alex Eala finally took those highly anticipated steps out onto the main court of Stadium 1 for her incredibly high-stakes professional debut, the atmosphere instantly shifted into something entirely indescribable. The profoundly ugly and entirely hidden truth of the massive racist scandal heavily surrounding the media queen was visibly written across the deeply intense and highly emotional faces of absolutely every single person packed into the Porter massive crowd. That staggeringly massive 2 million strong army of fiercely loyal Filipino fans absolutely refused to just blindly cheer for their beloved queen, but instead brilliantly managed to create a suffocating and entirely impenetrable wall of absolute dead silence. Absolutely every single time the American broadcast cameras dared to point their massive lenses directly toward them. It was a profoundly savage and deeply psychological boycott that has reportedly left the lucrative corporate advertisers of the broadcast network completely panic-stricken and scrambling for cover. However, the truly seismic shockwave occurred during the highly anticipated post-match press conference, where the impenetrable Djokovic shield and the fierce honor of Eala collided for one final, absolutely nuclear confrontation with the mainstream media. When a visibly nervous reporter representing the affiliated network of Oprah aggressively attempted to ask a heavily loaded question regarding the immense pressure of the ongoing controversy, the young star took control. Alex Eala reportedly executed an absolutely devastating 10-second period of pure, unbroken silence. She confidently stared directly into the blinding camera lens, fiercely refusing to utter even a single syllable in response to the massive media provocation. Instead, she simply and deliberately adjusted the vibrant flag patch of the Philippines proudly displayed on her uniform, delivering a brilliant, silent execution of the biased media narrative that resonated far louder than any desperate shout ever could. The absolute shock pulsating through the crowded press room was undeniably palpable, standing as a monumental national statement of pure dignity that completely incinerated the pathetic attempt by Oprah to paint the fierce young athlete as a helpless victim. The irrefutable reality is that Alex is absolutely no victim, but rather she has firmly established herself as a completely sovereign and incredibly powerful champion. The staggering global information explosion immediately following that historic silence has reportedly caused the overall favorability ratings of Oprah Winfrey to absolutely collapse to their absolute lowest and most disastrous levels in 40 long years. Yet, the absolute final and most devastating blow was ruthlessly delivered by the legendary Novak Djokovic himself. Acting firmly as the undisputed godfather of this massive cultural revolution, the Serbian powerhouse reportedly marched straight into the crowded media center, the very second Alex departed to deliver his ultimate and completely unforgivable verdict. He fiercely commanded the attention of the completely stunned journalists, boldly declaring that the entire world witnessed the breathtaking grace of a true queen today, while yesterday they were forced to endure the pathetic cruelty of a bitter bully, and confirming that the bully definitively lost the war. This incredibly savage and perfectly articulated summary has effectively and permanently dismantled the once untouchable media empire of Oprah from ever holding any influence within the global sporting world again. Widespread reports are already fiercely circulating that several massive corporate sponsors have desperately begun backtracking on their highly lucrative deals with the production house of the host, absolutely terrified of absorbing the nuclear fallout, stemming from the catastrophic $500 million lawsuit we previously detailed in Part 4. The intense and deeply personal locker room war has officially concluded, and this completely unprecedented Serbian and Filipino alliance has gloriously emerged as the single most powerful and fiercely respected force in all of professional sports. The underlying economic reality generated by this historic conflict is somehow even more intensely shocking than the cultural impact itself, driven entirely by the incredible wave of fierce national unity beautifully triggered by the disgusting scandal. The financial metrics simply exploded. The global broadcast viewership for the highly anticipated match of Alex reportedly skyrocketed to a staggering, absolute nuclear peak of 150 million concurrent viewers, definitively proving that the horrific racist attack only served to make her completely and utterly unstoppable. The elite establishment of the Women's Tennis Association is currently reportedly absolutely fuming at Oprah for single-handedly causing this unprecedented public relations disaster, yet they are simultaneously panicking and desperately scrambling to immediately sign Alex to a massive lifetime ambassador deal, simply to formally apologize for their own systemic bias. The beautiful and fiercely savage truth is that on this historic day of March 6th, something far greater than tennis occurred. Alex Eala did not merely win a simple tennis match, but she absolutely conquered a massive global war for fundamental respect. And as the golden sun finally sets over the California desert, the ultimate hidden factor remains pure, undeniable unity. Novak Djokovic and Rafael Nadal were reportedly spotted quietly sharing a deeply meaningful victory toast hidden away in an incredibly exclusive private VIP lounge. They were absolutely not celebrating the acquisition of a shiny silver trophy, but rather raising a glass to the successful, fierce protection of a brilliant young prodigy, signaling that the brutal media siege is finally and completely over. The dark, toxic shadow previously cast by Oprah Winfrey has been permanently and unceremoniously evicted from the beautiful game of tennis, ensuring that the brilliant, golden light of the Philippines is currently shining brighter and more powerfully than it ever has before. Thank you so incredibly much for closely following this explosive, 5-part nuclear journey directly into the beating heart of the absolutely historic and unprecedented war between Novak Djokovic and Oprah Winfrey. Please do not ever forget to aggressively like this video, subscribe to the channel, and leave a massive shame on Oprah rallying cry for Eala down in the comment section below, because the integrity of history has been fiercely defended, and the beautiful future ultimately belongs to those who courageously stand tall. They are the ones who will forever stand firm and fight for the absolute truth.